combine small town roots with business savvy, and you've got the Rural Rundown podcast. We're sharing our marketing and branding strategies, tips, and tricks that rural businesses can use to educate, inspire, and entertain their customers, and to help you make sales and hit profit goals. So what does it take to go from your mom is your only fan to famous in a small town? Tune in and listen up as we feature business owners and organizations that are doing big things in their community and creating opportunities for generations to come.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Rural Rundown podcast. Hey Brenna, how's it going?
It's going well today. I'm excited to be back in my office after traveling and finally be at my desktop working.
Oh my gosh, I forgot the last podcast we recorded. Brenna was in the middle of nowhere and it was watching Oli walk around the car while we were recording.
I was, yeah, literally. He was just on the phone walking around. He picked up some trash when I got off of that episode. I looked and I was like, "You picked up trash?" And he's like, "Well, I found this glass bottle I thought you might like." That is the nicest thing.
Cute. For a craft project?
Yeah.
Okay. I like
prop. Whatever.
You guys, that's awesome. So do you kind of want to give our audience a taste of what they're going to hear today? What are we talking about?
Yeah, today we're talking about websites, and more specifically, does your business need a website? I feel like I have a lot of clients come to me and ask this question, and they're really just unsure what to do or where to start. So yeah, that's what we're hitting.
Yes, I think I'm excited to talk about this because that is a question. I've had a conversation with a lot of rural businesses around here. Do I need a website? Is it worth it? Will it even help me? And I have a couple thoughts, but if someone approached you, let's just start with that question. What would be some things you would maybe ask them back so we could get a good grasp on whether they really do need a website or not?
Most of the time, I'm not even sure that I would ask questions back. Except for if they hadn't told me about their business yet or what they were offering to people, would kind of be okay, what's your offer or what's your business? And what are your long-term goals? But in the end, my answer is usually always the same, and it's yes. I absolutely think you need a website for a variety of different reasons. But what do you ask them back?
Yes. So I think it depends, especially on what they're doing. I think a lot of service-based businesses get in the mind that even if they've maybe been doing this for so long, oh, well, my dad or my uncle who owned this before me never had a website. We don't need one. Mm-hmm. And okay, I get it. You do have lots of customers and a name in the community. But one thing that I like to kind of circle back is, well, you're giving away people probably business cards or, your invoices that have your information on it. When you need to attract new customers, you need a landing place for them to find you. So I like to think of a website as your online business card. And I think you've said that before in past episodes. So for the most part, yeah, I agree. Most people should have websites. I do have one caveat. There is a business that I work with that is mostly, I don't really know how to describe it. It's very service-based and very niche. And right now we're just running things on Facebook, job postings, just post hey, we're in the community. And I do, like I said, think most businesses should have a website, but for now that works. And I think if you do even have an online presence on a social media page, it can work for you. But we also have to remember that Facebook could just close shop. Instagram could close shop. Yeah. You don't own, even though it says facebook.com/your business name, you don't own it. So correct. If you have a website, that's yours. You get to keep it if you keep up.
Yeah, with it. That's exactly what I think too. Having a website is owning your own real estate on the internet, right? And social media doesn't allow you to actually own that space. You're just renting it. So if Facebook decides, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok even are already pay to play, right? So you pay for ads, you pay for different things to get your content seen. That's a pay to play site. Websites, you're buying that that real estate, and you can do whatever you want to do on it, right? It could be a website about your favorite book, your favorite flower, your favorite whatever. Nobody is telling you what you can and can't have on that website. But social media platforms, somebody else owns that. Somebody else is gatekeeping your information, the information you put out there. And absolutely 100%, I feel like if you're just starting and you don't have the funds or you don't have all of your information gathered up to have a website yet, that social media page is definitely the way to go. It shows up in Google searches. It still gives people that landing page to go and find out more information about you. But ultimately, you're going to need a website. People like to price shop and people like to do their own research in private without having to call you and ask you a million questions beforehand. So if you have a competitor, like even in a service-based business, right? So if you're a salon and you don't have a website, but maybe the town over 10, 20, 30 minutes over has a website and people can see who's cutting hair, what services they offer, and what the price is, chances are people are going to drive that extra 30 miles to go somewhere that they've been able to do the research versus walking into your salon that they virtually know nothing about.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head with this. There's like, you seem legit when you have a website. So, I mean, like, sometimes people would be like, oh, is it just for like vanity that you have a website? No, but it does make you, if you have a website that someone can go to and look you up, like you do seem a little bit more of like a legit business. And that situation you described, like if I could go on the website and see like, oh, this is what the building looks like, this is what the inside looks like, I even feel like a little bit safer and like more secure, confident walking in there, knowing, okay, I'm in the right place. Yep, this looks familiar. I'm good to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people like to buy from people. So if you have a website where you're able to share your story, I mean, here's the thing. When we really look at Facebook pages and we kind of dissect them, we see Facebook trying to mimic what a web page will do for you. Like it's not so pertinent. I think they've even removed it at this point, but there used to be a space on Facebook pages where you could share your story and it would have that little piece about your business that you could type in there and put a video or a photo. And I think they've removed that. But what they're doing is trying to act as a web page. Like when you see social media platforms that are making you pay to play, mimicking the same exact real estate that you could be buying, it kind of turns into a no-brainer, right? That it's like, well, why wouldn't I just buy my own website that can live there if you keep paying the annual fee, just like a mortgage, could live there for eternity and house all of the information that you need to. You update it when you need to. You always have a place to direct people to go. I really, there hasn't ever been a situation that I'm really like, no, you probably don't need a website. And when you were talking about service businesses and really niche, the one person I think of is maybe a horse farrier or somebody who is in a service like that, equine massage. But equine massage, I 100% think that you need a website. A farrier, you're probably a little more lenient that you could get away with it because of word of mouth and just the business that you do. But I don't think that you're completely exempt. I think that if there is competition in your area and you want to get new clients, then you absolutely need a website.
Yeah. And I agree with that. There's like the two sides of the story. You're an old business who's established and everybody already goes to you anyways. But eventually those people are going to age out. And if you're going to keep running your business, you're going to have to start talking to people you've never talked to before. Or you're brand new competing against the established business. What are you going to do differently that makes you stand out against them? Well, it's probably, hey, having a website, being relevant, speaking to the people who maybe aren't just going to, go to them because that's the thing to do. So yeah, I think for the most part, yes, having a web presence. This is the next thing I want to talk about. Having a web presence is very important. But people are going to push back when we're talking about, well, how much money am I going to have to spend? So I'm curious what your opinion is on that.
I think when I'm trying to think of like what I want to go here for, because you can absolutely have a Facebook page and never ever pay for a piece of advertising and gain followers. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time to get there. I definitely think that paying for ads is the way to grow on social media if that's the way you want to do it. In terms of have a lot of feelings about money, and I feel like my mindset from money is quite different than other people's, especially in rural areas and this ag kind of lifestyle, right? Because a lot of times we can look at a website and think that it is a very frivolous thing to pay for, because a lot of people, a lot of business owners aren't tracking the return or the analytics of people that are visiting their site, right? They're not seeing that back end, they're not spending a lot of time there. But when we look at it, I mean, I pay for my website and it's $250 a year. $250 a year is really, really easy for me to justify with a single project, a single very small project, a 1 day VIP client, that that just to me is such a no-brainer. And we talked about this in the last episode with Maggie, that we really have to start looking at things as an investment and how much more money they can make us versus how much it's costing us right now.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that was a really good explanation. There's paying for it. Yes, it becomes, if you look at it as an investment, then it's not such a like a could be thorn in someone's side.
Mhm.
And there's actually a lot of options out there, like where you could build your own website and make it look very nice. There's tons of templates out there. If you're going to do it yourself, where really all you are going to end up paying for is the domain and maybe the host site, depending on how much things you need or want. So there's ways to do it if you're not ready to be able to spend a lot. But if you do want to invest in it, I think it's going to pay it off if you use it and you want to put yourself out there. What do you say to people? Both of you and I have built websites before. So
Mhm.
when you're thinking about reaching out to somebody, I think traditionally in the past, like I remember growing up, if you like had a website built, you went to like the big agency in Sioux Falls to have it done. Like now there's tons of people who are web designers or can build you a website that's a little more custom, but that also costs more money. What advice would you give to somebody who might be looking for something like that? They need help, they know they don't want to do it, but they want it done well and they want it done right.
I really love going back to this real estate analogy, right? So when we really think about things and we think about your website fee that you pay yearly as a mortgage and really owning this piece of real estate, think about building your dream home from scratch versus living in like a prefab single family home. That right there is the complete difference of it, right? So you're living in your dream home for your family that you have a little bit of space to grow. People, it's super unique. Everybody knows it. It stands out. It's 100% yours. And when people walk up to that front door, they feel welcomed and they feel like, absolutely, this is the Rural Rundown podcast, or this is December Day Creative, or this is whatever business it may be, versus walking up to that prefab or that modular home in a suburb that's filled with maybe 30, 40, 50 other homes on the same block or in the same neighborhood that all look identical. They're just maybe a different shade of color and they maybe have a different roof line. That right there is the difference for me, and I guess that's how I would explain it to people to really kind of simplify it. So you tell me if you want that dream home or if you want that modular home that everybody else, on your street or in your neighborhood has. That is the decision that you have to make, and that's totally up to people, where whether you don't have the money right now, you're a brand new business that's just starting. Okay, maybe you start in one of those homes, or maybe you're even renting to get by for the first little bit. But there really comes a time where you decide that you're going to save up money and you're going to buy that dream home. And that's what it's like for your website as well. And once you make that investment, I mean, I'll be completely honest. The websites that I build for people are anywhere from that $2,500 to $3,200 range. That is a big chunk of money for people who are just starting their business. So maybe you don't start there, but maybe when you're 3 or 4 years down the line in business and you see how much money you're making each year, then you make the decision to say, okay, I'm going to invest in this. And again, making that commitment to make an extra $3,000 in that first year of business that you have a new website, that should seem like a completely attainable goal to you. That to me is not out of line when you really think about it that way, to be like, how do I make this work for me, and really look at your ROI.
Yeah. You were killing it with the metaphors today.
Well, it's again, like, it's things that clients have come to me and talked about. But it really is when we can think about it in everyday terms, and we don't think about it as being such a frivolous thing to have a website for our business, then it really starts to be like, well, yeah, that makes total sense. And
Yeah.
it should.
Yeah. I'm just impressed by that. You're like painting a beautiful picture.
Good. I'm glad. That's what I aim for.
I think too, some of the benefits too of having somebody take over from that creative side is you could then share, like, as the business, what you want to convey, and that person can take it and make it happen so much faster than you can, and beautiful, designed, well written. I mean, that's the power play of having someone who does this for a living take what you have and make it into something. And of course, that person's going to have to communicate with you and learn about your business a little bit, and probably get some images and video and photos from you to really explain it well. But I think that's worth the cost, and it's in the investment side of it, because you're putting that into something that then becomes your business card online. That's you. And it didn't take you like 2 years trying to just hack it by yourself, which some businesses do that, and it's great. It just depends on where your business hats lay and your time lays. And I think you're right with the if you're not ready for it yet, make it a goal so that it's something you can get to.
And I'm not exempt from being like, well, I know how to build websites, so my website's perfect. In fact, my current like state of my website is not great. And it's kind of like in the fixer upper stage. And there are definitely times where I'm like, should I just hire this out? Because as a creative, I can spend so much time over analyzing my own business, right? And I think that's with other people too, other people's business. Like, they can spend so much time sitting there over analyzing everything. And sometimes all you need is a fresh pair of eyes or a fresh insight into your business to be like, yeah, this is what looks good, or this is what people are after too, like really focusing on what your client is after and what is going to attract them. So I would not, because I think that's maybe the other stigma too, that people feel ashamed because there are so many website builders that you can completely do on your own. People kind of feel ashamed, like, well, I should just be able to do this, or they feel like they could like cut costs. But like, you hire a general contractor to build your dream home, you're not doing it yourself.
Right.
So I've talked about like the nurse analogy, and like, I'm not gonna sew myself up when somebody else is trained how to do that. This is kind of the same thing, where it's like, if that's not your thing, that's totally okay. That's the difference between renting, being a fixer upper, DIYing, and hiring a contractor to build your dream home.
I agree 1,000%. Like, first of all, with your point about sometimes when we're so into our own businesses, we can't step back and we can't see what someone else could see. So I do find that a lot with the people I do work with. It's almost like a relief, because I can make a bare bones website and put things and capture it for them. And then they'd be like, oh, just add this, then they're able to like visualize it. And sometimes you just need someone to hold your hand and get you there.
Yep.
And then the second part of that too is beyond the, like looking out, is it doesn't have to be that complicated. I think sometimes too, we think, oh, wow, we're going to have to trudge through this. This is going to be so much information, so much things. Well, if you think about it, like really a website probably doesn't need to be that complicated. It should just lay out exactly to your ideal customer what you do, how you can help them, what's the benefit of working with you. And that's about it. So, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah, no, everything, I feel like I say this so many times, like this little phrase, but everything comes down to who you are, what you do, and why you do it. That's all it is. That's all people need to know. And when we really scale back to that, I think things become like a little more simple and kind of allow you that space to dream the big things or dream the goals that you want, when you're really just focusing on that small part of it.
Oh, I love that. And I actually think, unless you have any final thoughts, I think that kind of wraps up our website chat.
Yeah, no, this was meant to be just a very simple, do you need a website for your business? My answer is yes. Rach, what do you tell people?
I would say yes, but let's talk about it. Let's first. Most
There may
likely,
be a
yes.
small caveat. Whether you're renting or you're ready to build, I definitely think that there is a place for a website for in every business. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with you. And like I said, I think I just want to talk to you if you're going to come and approach me with that question, and we'll make sure it's the right fit. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to be yes. We have a little fun thing we wanted to do for our listeners. We want to get your opinion. Can you head to our Instagram page? It's Rural Rundown. And on our latest post, leave an emoji that describes how you feel about websites. Whether it's you have one, you're thinking about one, what emoji describes how you feel about it?
Yes. Comment on the post that has this episode. It'll have the little cover on it about websites. We want to know what you want to know about websites. Well, that's it for this episode of the Rural Rundown podcast.
Thanks for listening. You can always find us on social media at the Rural Rundown.
And if you really liked this episode, we would totally love it if you gave us a review and gave us a little rating.
It would mean so much to us. And for more small town roots and business savvy, catch us on the next one.